She banged like the devil was behind her, fists slamming the wood so hard it shook dust loose from the beams. "You people don't belong here," she shouted, just before my wife opened the door. And let me tell you, Karen froze mid-sentence the second she laid eyes on the one woman no one ever disrespects, twice Staff Sergeant Emily Hart, retired. We weren't bothering anybody. After 15 years of city burnout and corporate grind, we bought the old Hartman place by Clover Lake off-grid. Quiet, 2 acres with a dock and loons that cried like ghosts at dusk. I work remote now, software stuff. Emily? She tends the garden, hikes the trails, and sleeps with one eye open. Always has. Always will. We picked this cabin because we thought it'd be peace. We were wrong. At first, it was subtle, the HOA newsletter stuffed in our mailbox, even though we weren't in the HOA district. Little notes taped to our gate. "Welcome to the neighborhood. Please review the community guidelines." Then a knock one Sunday morning from a bleach blonde woman in tennis whites, holding a clipboard and the ugliest forced smile I've ever seen. "Hi, I'm Karen. I represent the Lakeview Residents Association. Just stopping by to make sure you're aware of the expectations we hold around here." I glanced at the clipboard, landscaping regulations, paint color swatches, acceptable mailbox styles. I said, "Thanks, but we're not part of the HOA." She didn't even blink. "Oh, everyone's part of the community spirit," she chirped, eyes flicking disapprovingly to our rusted wind chime and Emily's boot rack by the door. "We like to keep things uniform." We shut the door before she finished the sentence. Should have seen it, then, the kind of woman who's used to snapping her fingers and getting the whole street to fall in line. The next few weeks were like living in a low-budget surveillance thriller. Our motion lights flickered at odd hours. Someone tossed our compost bin down the ravine. A notice appeared on our truck windshield. "Vehicles may not be parked overnight in view of the road," which would have made sense if this were a street. It wasn't. We were up a gravel path, half a mile from anyone. Then came a drone. I'm not joking, an actual buzzing quadcopter flying low over our garden every other day. We caught on Emily's trail cam. Once she tried to follow it, but it zipped back toward the subdivision like a scared rat. She started calling her that week HOA Karen. It stuck. It all came to a head when we put up the flag. It was just a simple mount the U.S. flag above a Palomar A1, right by the porch where Emily drinks her coffee. Karen lost her damn mind, stormed up the drive like she owned the land, dragging some private security rent-a-cop behind her with a clipboard and aviators like he was starring in a soap opera. They banged on the cabin while Emily was cleaning her rifle. You ever seen a soldier open a door with calm you can feel in your bones? Emily stepped out wearing her old field jacket, sleeves rolled, boots laced. The look in her, I said, "Not today." Karen opened her mouth to yell, then just froze. The guard looked from Emily to me, and you could tell he knew he'd been dragged into something he didn't want any part of. Karen tried to rally. "This flag isn't allowed. It violates visual uniformity guidelines." Emily didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. This flag flew over my base, over my unit, over bodies I helped carry home. "You want to take it down? You better bring an army." Karen sputtered. The guard started backing down the steps. "This isn't over," she snapped, turning on her heel. No, it wasn't. That's when we met Hank. Big guy, retired fire chief. Lived in the last house before the woods turned into our land. We hadn't seen much of him, but he rolled up in a mud-splattered Jeep the next day, handed us a beer, and said, "Heard the Dragon Lady try to pull rank." Turns out Karen had been running the HOA like a personal fiefdom ever since her husband, the actual elected president, got sick and stepped back. She chased off a young couple for installing solar panels, threatened to sue a disabled vet for parking a trailer in his own driveway. Hank said she even tried to fine him for flying his Marine flag until he reminded her what a fire hydrant tastes like. He handed us a thumb drive. Drone footage. She's been flying it from Lot 12. Idiot registered it under her own name. That changed everything. Emily went quiet for a couple of days, which means her brain was working overtime. She pulled county maps, land easements, HOA bylaws, and drone regulations. Tracked down the original deed to our cabin, scanned and archived every note Karen had ever left. I helped, but mostly watched her turn into a one-woman legal machine. Then the report came. Karen had filed an official complaint with the county zoning board, said, "We were violating visual cohesion standards, noise ordinances, even accused us of unauthorized military displays." Emily just smiled. She brought the law into this. Good. She filed a counter-complaint, and a cease and desist for harassment, and a privacy violation notice for the drone, and a report to the FAA for unauthorized surveillance flights. All under her name, Staff Sergeant Emily Hart, U.S. Army, retired. The court date got set for 3 weeks later. That morning, we drove into town, Emily in her dress blues. Karen showed up in a pastel suit and a cloud of perfume, dragging a wheeled briefcase and 2 HOA board members she'd sweet-talked into supporting her. The judge, a tall, no-nonsense woman named Martinez, asked one question. "Ms. Hart, do you own the property in question?" "Yes, ma'am. Bought outright. No liens, outside HOA boundaries." "And did the complainant enter your property uninvited?" Emily nodded. "Several times." She laid the drone footage on the desk. Audio clips of Karen shouting. Photos. FAA report. Timeline logs. Karen opened her mouth to object. The judge held up a hand. "You've been warned before, Mrs. Trask. This board has no authority outside its jurisdiction. You're not above the law. Your actions violate multiple state and federal privacy statutes." She turned to Emily. "Would you like to press charges?" Emily didn't even blink. "No, Your Honor. I just want her to stay the hell off my land." "Granted. No contact order. Drone use suspended. HOA censured." Karen turned beet red. But it wasn't over. 3 weeks later, a letter went out to all Lakeview residents. Anonymous, but signed, "Concerned Neighbor." It included a timeline of Karen's abuse of power, her false legal claims, and evidence she'd misused HOA funds to pay for private enforcement. At the next board meeting, Karen was voted out. She left the neighborhood that winter. We still live in the cabin. The flag still flies. The loons still cry at dusk. And every so often, a stranger will drive by real slow, eyes lingering on the porch. I know they're wondering what kind of people live here now, the kind you don't push around. Funny thing is, we never wanted a fight. We wanted peace. But if you come banging on our door, thinking you can break people down with rules and rage and fake authority, you better be ready for what's waiting on the other side. Because sometimes justice doesn't wear a robe. Sometimes she wears combat boots. Now, let me ask you, where do we draw the line between community standards and personal freedom? When does neighborhood order become control? Think about it. And if you liked this story, hit that subscribe button. There's more where this came from.